So in this video, I'm going to show you how to start a business acquisitions advisory business step by step, right? So stay with me until the end. I'll show you what that business model even is, how you can get started, how you can make money from this, okay? And if you don't know me, my name is Moran Pober. I'm the founder of rollups.com and acquisitions.com. We were involved in more than $1 billion worth of transactions in the last few years. So to start with, I'm going to share my screen, right? What is a acquisitions advisor? Right, so what that even is, right? In a nutshell, you're helping buyers or sellers of business owners, right? So people who want to buy businesses or people who want to sell businesses, right? It can also be connecting businesses to a roll-up, which is basically working with sellers, but the structure there is a bit different because they're not necessarily selling, but they continue to operate their business under the umbrella of a roll-up. Now, the beauty with that model is that you don't need money to start. You just need to gain knowledge on the industry, and we need to learn some skills, obviously. And then when you have the skills, you have the understanding, you can make money, right? You can take it pretty much as far as you want. Like, we've made millions of dollars from it in the last few years. I mean, you can see companies like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. Those are multi-billion dollar companies basically doing the same at the highest level possible, right? But you can get started small, make 5,000-10,000 a month cash flow from retainers plus percentages from deals. So you get like 1 to 10% usually on average per deal. So if it's $1 million deal and you get 10%, obviously that's $100,000 or $10,000 if it's 1%, right? And if it's a $10 million deal or $50 million deals, that's where you make large chunky of capital events alongside the cash flow retainer to sustain maybe your day-to-day lifestyle. Yeah, so the beauty of this is you can take it as far as you want, right? I think it's a great business model to get started with because you just need to pretty much network with people and connect. Like, as long as you're okay with people and you're good interacting with people and you like people in general, then you can be good at this. And if you want, drop a comments below on why would that be interesting for you to learn how to become an acquisitions advisor and why you think it's a good business model. And I'll pick someone for a one-on-one call with me after we get 20 comments. So let's move forward, right? So how do you pick or how do you get started, right? So first of all, a lot of people might tell you you need to pick a sector, right? So picking a sector, and we'll get to it on exactly on the sector and what to pick, where to pick. But let me just walk you through the steps first, right? So you need a sector, you then need to find some kind of a lead list, right, of people you need to get in touch with. Then you probably want to get in touch. I'm just trying to simplify it as simply as possible, right? You get in touch with them, you sign them up on some kind of agreement. So you sign them up. And then you connect. Obviously, there's some work involved in between, but it's pretty much to keep it really simple. That's the process, right? You connect them either with the buyer or the seller, and you're the middleman to make the percentage. So as far as sectors goes, by the way, I'll explain it actually later, but first of all, I know a lot of people probably asking, like, how do you find those buyers or sellers to work with, right? Well, there are many ways to do that, which probably you heard about some of them, but there's email marketing. There's also paid ads, so Facebook ads, Google ads. There's LinkedIn. All of them, by the way, can be organic or ads. There's Google Map. That's a great source to get leads. There's also Google Search. Right, so you go out there and you do the right searches for the businesses that you want. There's Twitter. We've seen some cool results from Twitter lately. There's Instagram. There's events, right? It could be online or offline. There are online groups. There are cold calls. There's personal brand content. There's door knocking. Right. There's direct marketing or letters, and you can also just buy lists like Upwork, etc. Right, so look, if you're not afraid, a lot of people ask me, okay, what should I start with? If you're not afraid, I recommend personal brand, because that's the hardest, but also the best way to get the most, like the best leads ever. That's what worked personally for me the best. Like I was able to do a lot of those things that you see here, like a lot of the outreach campaigns, but I'm telling you, the leads that come from personal brand is unlike anything else. So I highly suggest you to go and kind of like, eat that frog, as we say. So let's go back to the sector. The sector is basically your niche, right? So it's picking the sector or your niche or whatever you want to call it. Now, what is a sector basically, right? It's basically if you make a decision that you want to target dentists only, or gyms, or chiropractors, or home improvement services, or HVAC in general, or landscaping, or pest control, all those are different sectors. Now, a lot will tell you that you need to niche down and pick just one. I don't agree to start with. I think that eventually it could help you to sell yourself as a specialized expert that is the best in that one thing, because it will be easier for you to show that you're specialized. Kind of like I like to give the example of like football or soccer, wherever you're from. If you'll talk to someone who's a agent of football players or soccer players versus someone who's saying I'm an agent of every sport, then obviously the one who's probably focused on football for the last 20, 30, 50 years is probably more of a specialized expert in that space. Same goes in business, because specialized give perception that you could get better results. It's like doctors, right? You probably, if you have a problem in your eyes, you'll want someone who's specialized in eyes, right? And not a random family doctor. But at first, any opportunity is scarce when you start a business, so we need to make sure that we make the most out of whatever we can find, whatever we come up with. We need to make the most out of it, and eventually, as you grow in business and you start to bring in income and multiple 5-6 figures of capital events, then learning how to say no to things would be a skill that you need to learn in order to grow to your next level in business. But at first, you don't have any leverage, so you don't probably at this point don't have any previous results or kind of case studies that you can show for. So you need to work with whatever you can, or whoever will work with you. And I think that's why I suggest for people to get started with it. If you try to think on what to pick, I would say pick local companies, because it will be much easier when you talk to someone who's local to you. It's just much easier versus if you're gonna try like remote location or internationally, right? So going internationally before you have any experience, it will just make the work, I think, 10 times harder for you. So after you pick the sector, your goal is then to find companies, right? So how do you do that? Well, first of all, your goal is to find a decision maker, because you don't want to talk to the secretary if you're talking to someone to buy or sell a business. And how do you do that? You can check their website. You can go to like the about page on the website. You can also just do a Google search on who's the owner, right? Many times you might find videos or articles about them. There are also company directories out there that you can check. Like most countries have some directories on companies. And of course, you can use different softwares or just buy the list. At this point, for me, that's what I like the most. I just outsource that and I buy it, right? So the first goal from me to you would be get 500 leads, right? And those are good quality leads that you want to get into. It will probably take you around a week part-time to get it if you do it manually. If you use a software, you can get it in a day, or if you buy it. But I think in general, it's a good practice, at least at first, to build those lists. And eventually, as you make money, you could always outsource it and pay for it, and just pay someone else to do it and find those lists for you. Now, as far as your outreach, I suggest what we call a multi-channel strategy. So what that means that when you reach to business owners, you want to reach out to them at all those different platforms, right? So in the end of the day, all of us as human beings, we communicate in different ways. I mean, and we also react differently or answer in different channels faster, or in general just answer versus not. So I think the goal should be to squeeze a yes or a no from each lead in whatever platform you can as soon as possible. Otherwise you continue to follow up. Like for me personally, I'll personally respond much faster on WhatsApp, for example, than email or Slack. And same goes for other business owners. Like everyone got their own favorite channel. So you need to reach out to them in all of them. So yeah, after that, you just need to get to work, right? So how do you do that? If you're doing personal brands, you need to do daily videos. If you do outreach, you do outreach daily. If you knock doors, you knock doors daily if needed. Like the more you do it, the better. And if it sounds a bit weird or uncomfortable, it actually means that you should probably do that. Like if you're not where you want to be in life, it means that you need to do something you never did before, and it's going to be uncomfortable. So fear should be your compass at this point in life. If you're not happy with where you're at, if you're happy with where you're at, you don't need to do anything and it's all good. But if you want to get to a different place in life and you want to make money with this, like at this point, I'm pretty much telling you guys, do this and you can make tens of millions of dollars in a few years, kind of like we did. So when I first started doing videos like this, trust me, it wasn't comfortable, but I knew what's possible because I was part of a network of other people like that showed me what's possible if you're building your personal brand. And my personal brand is not even that big at this point, but the results it's got because my content is very specific and niched got me amazing results. So just ask yourself, yeah, how bad you want it, and yeah, at some point you just gotta do some uncomfortable stuff in life or you'll just stay where you're at. So and the way to look at it, it's like just discipline, right? Like I believe that in life, I don't wake up with energy a lot of time. I don't wake up like, oh, I'm super excited about getting with my day. No. I believe that it's my responsibility to produce energy. And in any moment in life, I can have energy if I decide so. And if you want, I'll even prove it to you right now. Like, do a bit of a game with me. Like, ask yourself, if you knew that you'll have extra $10 million in the next 10 days if you follow your commitments of doing some of the work that I show you here to do. Because those are the numbers and more that I made in the last few years, literally just from connecting people, right? And helping them with buying or selling companies. So 10 million in 10 days, but what if I told you that you have to accomplish those habits that I tell you every single day? Would you do them even if you don't necessarily feel like it? Hopefully the answer is yes, right? Unless you already have tens of millions of dollars in your bank account, then maybe you need a bigger goal. But the beauty here is that there's no limit to the size of deals you can do. You can just do bigger deals. If you do a $100 million deal and you get the 1 to 10% of it, you can do per deal a few millions, right? So yeah, no excuses. And I'll also give you a bit of something to think about while I'm also telling you about the money, because let's say I'm telling you about 10 million, but also I want to tell you kind of like where it should come from. Because what if I told you that, like, what if you take the money, or would you take the money if you knew that you wouldn't wake up tomorrow? Right? And usually for most people, the answer is no. So my question to you is, why don't you, or all of us in general, because I'm not perfect either, why don't we act like today, just today is worth at least $10 million, right? And look, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to live my life from a place where I don't need anything in my life to know that I'm grateful for right now. Like, know who I am and be grateful just for the opportunity to be alive. And at the same time, also have the desire to become more, because I can be, do, have, and give and contribute more. And when I'm thinking that way, I do it not because of luck, although having a way from motivation is always good. Like, I always try to think, okay, live as if someone is going to take your house. I heard it from Shaquille O'Neal, actually said it, like, I'm playing as if someone on the other side is trying to take my mom's house. So both could be helpful. But I think that doing things not because of lack but because of contribution is a different energy source that I think is just more positive. So overall, back to those habits in general, I think we need to believe, I'm trying to daily believe in rhythms, in habits, in routines to create energy, and I'm not waiting for motivation to come out of the blue. So yeah, I think that we create motivation through our habits, and it's like going to the gym. When you go to the gym, you don't always want to do it, but there was never a time that I went to the gym and wasn't happy that I went to the gym after the workout, right? So it's like something to think about. Anyway, back to our work. So when we're doing outreach, by the way, like do the best that you can so it looks like personal outreach. And there are softwares and tools to do it nowadays. Like you want to say that you mentioned them or saw them in a video or a post, but just do whatever you can to make them feel like it's the only person you ever reach out to versus like an automated stuff. And then your goal is to book a call. Don't try to close the deal on email, right? Book a call. And then remember on the call, like the beauty with this acquisitions advisory stuff is that it's not a pressured sale. Like we're just here to show them that we can help them get from point A to point B and help them realize that we can be that expert advisor to help them get there, right? So after we book a call, then we have the call, right? Call it closing call or enrollment call or listing call, whatever you want to call it. And there's few things we can do there, like in the process in a call in general. Like we have scripts and whatnot, but I'll just walk you through like usually what we do. So usually probably the first part of the call is just building rapport, asking like why you even jumped on the call, asking about questions about the business. Always have like proactive listening, like tell them tell me more. Like build all the rapport and trust that you can as soon as possible. Listen to them. Like we have 2 years and 1 month, so we can listen. So listen like 50, 60, 80% of the time. And get their current versus desired situation, right? So it's like we want to know now and future, like what they want, right? So it's kind of like point A to point B. There's some kind of a gap. And that will help ignite kind of like some kind of a spark in them. And you can always try to compare other businesses in the niche that got sold for different prices or multiples, or people who bought businesses with your help or in general. And then in the end, you present the solution, right? And you always want to focus on the results that you can provide to them when you present the solution. And then in the call, by the way, you can present the opportunity to work with you with a retainer plus a percentage of what you'll get when there's a successful deal. I think if you're just getting started, start low or even start with no retainer, just get a percentage so you build momentum and get used to the work. If you go from commission only, you can say something like, look, let me do something I've never done before because I have so much confidence that our work together will work well for you. Let me do this, I'll work for you for free. And only after you get the results that you want, buying or selling the business, you'll pay me. And then after you said it, just stay silent, right? Because in general, in sales, conviction is pretty much everything in a sales process. And it's okay to also understand that in the first few calls, you'll fail. It's part of the process, it's all good. But then in the end of the call, you get a yes or no. Then you can go through an objection handling. Usually the objection handling process is assuming that they actually want to buy or sell a business, there are only 3 objections, basically price, partner, or fear. If they're interested, you move forward, you get the agreements in place, you book an onboarding call, right? So after this one, we go to an onboarding. You can sign the agreement also just in the onboarding call if you want, or in between. You have some kind of agreement. And remember, you are there to always help them. And then, depending on what you agreed with them, it can just be you making a simple introduction. All right, so introduction. to a buyer or a seller, or it can also be just a full deep dive support, like basically organizing financials or cleaning pitch decks or information memorandums. So that's, in the end of the day, just really comes down to what you agreed with them. And but that's for probably another video. But the introduction here is again to a buyer or to help them find sellers. Right, so then same process applies again. So it's back to deal flow, because after you have an agreement with them, then it's time again. Remember the process we had before with all those steps? So this is for buyers and sellers, right? All this. So we need to go out there, do the work. And I think it's a good to maybe point like the type of buyers, or at least let's go through some of them, right? Type of buyers. So we need to learn about some of them, like some of them just to get to know the terms. There are public companies that could buy companies. There are strategic companies, basically usually bigger private businesses in the space. There are roll-up sponsors, kind of like what we do at this point with acquisitions.com as well, and or rollups.com. And there are also private financial buyers who are just individual, want to buy their first business. So that's the process in a nutshell. Like, look, if you master this, I've seen people get to 10,000 a month very, very fast just in retainers. And then if you take another 1 to 10% at closing of a deal, you can make multiple 5-6 figures days from closed deal. Like, we made millions of dollars in the last few years from this process exactly. So look, if you want support implementing this, and you want all of our processes and scripts and templates, and maybe be even part of our acquisitions.com brand, so you get like your own email and bio pages on our website for your credibility, so you could use like our case studies and whatnot. I mean, look, we actually closed our doors for new members for our new acquisitions advisory community. But if you watched until here and you email support@acquisitions.com and you want to be part of it, because you watched this video, then we might give you details on how you can still join. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I think it was a pretty long video, but hopefully it's valuable for you guys. Go create the life you want. I love you. Bye bye.